Now, AP Economic and Market Analyst from Manila, the Philippines, Mr. Jun Trinidad at Citibank is now on the line with us. Good afternoon, Mr. Jun. Hello, Mr. Jun.
Hear you.
Yeah, there could be a bit of a delay in the communication because of the line here. Yes. Mr. Jun, the Thai exports...
I can hear you.
Yes, the Thai exports slowed down markedly in January. What were the reasons? Do you think the Thai exports can recover its momentum in the upcoming months?
Well, the slowdown in exports for Thailand that we saw in January can still be attributed to electronics and other export industries still recovering from the great deluge that we saw in the fourth quarter last year. However, if you look at the other export industries, there were those that were in a better shape, that reported better output, and that may be leading the way as far as recovery is concerned. I think that Thai exports are already in an upbeat momentum if you look at the month-on-month numbers. But it may take some time before they're able to recover the same capacity that we saw prior to the deluge in the fourth quarter last year.
Yes, and Mr. Jun, the cost of living in Thailand has been increasing significantly now. Are you concerned that it might spill over to into social or political turmoil if the government can't handle this?
Well, if you look at the inflation numbers, which is probably a good indicator of the cost of living anywhere in the world, for Thailand, it's interesting to note that inflation has stabilized and may be on a disinflation mode, meaning the average cost of prices, whether it's food or non-food, would probably be easing on account of slower demand pressures, mainly from the dislocation in the fourth quarter of last year. I don't think that that is an indication of a higher cost of living. What the government would probably want to do is make sure that there's adequate support for low-income groups, households that were affected by the floods, the last quarter's natural calamity, and make sure that spending, at least in that segment of the consumer market, remains relatively firm and would contribute to the country's recovery.
Right. Should we be cautious about government spending now? You know, fiscal deficit so far has propped up the economic growth in Thailand. Have we become addicted to government spending to boost growth?
Well, I wouldn't want to use the word fiscal spending addiction.
Right.
Because in Thailand, just like in any other countries, there's every reason, every rationale for government to spend. Whether it's to provide good infrastructure that will be supportive of sustainable growth over the medium to long term, or to address poverty and pursue poverty alleviation measures. Now, for Thailand, despite the low public sector debt to GDP ratios compared to other countries in the region or in Europe or in the US, I think that having 3 or 4 years of what I refer to as chronic fiscal deficit positions that are not modest, we may be reaching a period in which the government has to pick its spots, meaning that they cannot spend, they cannot be everything to everyone, so to speak. And they have to be very selective in identifying what productive spending would be supportive of medium-term growth. And if I were to put in my 2 cents worth, I think that the infrastructure projects that refer to providing better flood defenses, improving the waterworks systems in Bangkok and outside Bangkok, would probably should be prioritized. While having said that, other types of spending that do not refer or have very little implications for medium to long-term sustainable growth should be downplayed.
Yes, and what is your projection of Thailand's GDP growth, and what about the impact of China's slowdown on Thai GDP growth?
I'm still a bit sober in my GDP outlook, looking at 3.8% GDP growth, probably a little bit higher. If we see the critical mass of investment spending from the private sector in the second half of the year, and pick up in government infrastructure spending, that should provide a good basis for highlighting that domestic demand is probably going to be very crucial to Thai GDP prospects, at least in the next 12 to 18 months. Given the global backdrop, I'm not expecting that exports would be a major contributor to growth, whether these are coming from overseas sales in developed markets or intra-Asia. Now, focusing on Asia, intra-Asia, particularly the Asean, are key markets for Thailand.
Right.
And thus far, latest data shows that it still remains positive, although not as robust as what we saw in the prior months, in 2010 or following the recovery following the FY09 crisis.
I see.
Okay, thank you so
very
much, Mr. Jun, for joining our program today.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.